CMP focuses on the big ideas in inquiry and problem-centered types of problems. They believe this allows for more engagement and understanding. Connecting the mathematical concepts and problems to something real allows for more mathematical discussion and collaborations. So as you can see here, I pulled from 3 of the parts of the investigation. So investigation 1.1, 1.2, and 1.4. So starting here, we'll just look at the chip one on the on the left there. So that's from In the Chips. So the goals of this activity is for students to interpret and write their own mathematical sentences and develop and use a chip model for representing addition and subtraction. So CMP likes to put everything in a launch, explore, and summarize concept. So when launching this, you'll discuss with your students the finances as in the black or in the red, and have students identify situations where they have been in the black and in the red. So you could go through the getting ready questions. The board has 3 red chips, 5 red black chips are added. What is the end result? What number sentence represents the situation? And then you continue on. So that was just the number 1 of that example right there. So from there, you can then explore with students and have them explain how they are determining their solutions. By encouraging students to use chips and the chipboard, this will show their thinking, and you can have them write the addition and subtraction number sentences to describe their work. So right there, by showing their work and working with the chips, they're making those connections. And then lastly, summarizing, students will demonstrate and explain their solutions using the chips, and you'll want to take time to consider the number sentences that have been written. So how is this chip model similar to the number line model that was explored earlier in the investigation? Over at Math Fever, to the right there, so the goal of playing Math Fever is it's just a Jeopardy type game, but students are going to explore the use of an appropriate notation for positive and negative numbers in an applied setting, and they're going to interpret and write mathematical sentences. So again, with the launch, explore, summarize method, to launch this, you're going to discuss the introduction to the Math Fever game, and then you'll post the 3 scores and discuss what a high score is and a low score, because they'll have positive and negative integers. So you'll discuss with the students how they decided, they compare the scores, and then we can even go a little bit further and say, how could somebody get a certain score, like get a score of a negative 300? From there, you can explore with the students, and they can explain why their solutions make sense. So asking questions like, what is the fewest number of questions that each team could have tried to answer to get their current score? If the rocket scientist, one of the teams, arrived at their score after answering 10 questions, what is a possible sequence of questions they could have answered? So I see this as a little bit of reversibility, because they kind of have an answer and they need to come up with their own number sentences, and there's not just one answer for this. And then in the end, you'll still want to summarize with the students, and what they'll do is they'll go over the questions, and then they'll see the differences between the highest and lower scores and really just collaborate and compare their ideas with one another. The bottom right here is a part of section 1.2, which is called From Sauna to Snowbank. So right away, and you can glance through this question, it's talking about temperature. So here the goals are to locate positive and negative numbers on the number line and then compared with the temperature gauge. And students are going to compare and order positive and negative numbers, and hopefully after this section they'll be able to understand the relationship between a positive or negative number and its opposite. So that would be an example of additive inverse. So with launching, exploring, and summarizing, what students are going to be able to see with launching is they can make those real connections. They know temperatures, they know cold temperatures, they know hot temperatures. And then from there, they can put the temperatures that they've discussed as a class on a number line. Moving on then to the explore, they can look at describing how they looked at differences between temperatures, and then what happens as the temperature goes up and down, what happens to the numbers when they go left and right on the number line. Then from there, students will be able to follow up with some more algorithm type questions, and then hopefully by then they would have that deeper understanding with the positive and negative integers.